All right, so wanted to show quickly if you're here working at the Jamesville Community Church and you're in charge of sound and you've got a lot of things to hook up. Quite a few of the mics are plugged in and they're going to stay where they are. They're labeled on the sound mixer. So things like the piano mics, the mic that's over the drums, the lectern mics, wireless mics 1 and 2. But then you have on the mixer, I think it's mics 3 through 7. They each have a color on the mixer, and they are color coded out here in the church as well. So coming from the computer system to behind the organ, and we're going to see if we can come on over here. So if you come on behind the organ, there is a snake. So it terminates with a whole jack panel. Now, most of the time where you'll plug in microphones is over by the piano side. But what I did is I put in on this side, you got your yellow, red, purple, green, and gray. They match exactly with the input on the sound mixer. So the colors are the same all the way through. So these are just basically a bridge that goes from this box over to the box on the other side by the piano. So if you had a violin or you had a musician that was near the organ, rather than plug the purple cord in from the piano side and run it all the way across the stage or in front of the stage over here, you could just unplug the purple cable here, leave it unhooked because all it's doing is going to the other side of the stage, and you could plug your long purple cable that goes to the microphone to the instrument on this side right here. So I would recommend packing things up after each event. And so we're going to go over to the other side. So you got a whole bunch of microphones. When I got here today, they were all left out on stands everywhere. So I'm going to leave them on the stands. Like, I don't want to interfere with how you guys do things. I would recommend that, unless you know you need them for the exact same thing, you might want to pack them up. But I would keep the mics right here under the piano, and that's also where all these cords are. So as I was just mentioning over there, you've got these long cables. They have a label on the end with the input number, but the most important thing is the color. So here's another one of those mic boxes at the end of a snake. And so this one has the exact same colors for the exact same channel. So the other side is just linking over to here. So if you want to plug a musician in on this side, just pick your mic cable, plug it into the corresponding color, and then you know that when you get back to the mixer, the mic that's plugged into green goes to green. You get it. It just matches all the way through. So, and these are a lot easier than tape on microphones as far as if you glance over, it's really easy to see a yellow mic cable, hooked to a microphone that's in front of whatever instrument. In front of the piano here, there's a 4-channel DI box. So the first one I don't even have labeled, and that's because it's taking the output from this digital piano, and the digital piano is pretty much always plugged in. So that's on 1. And then I put labels DI2 to input 8, DI3 to input 9. So yeah, this second 1/4-inch jack right here, you could plug a guitar into it, you could plug a bass guitar into it. Pretty much anything that has an instrument cable can plug in, and you know that it's going to go to input 8 on the little microphone connector. It's already wired up. And then when you go back to the computer and you look at the mix interface, it's all labeled. So if you just follow the labels, it'll always go where it's supposed to go. And then the last thing, as far as talking about microphones, is that these microphones, which is what you have a whole bunch of, they're great microphones. They don't feed back easily, but they're designed as close mics, like vocals. You should sing right into them. They're not really sensitive for softer instruments and or miking from a distance. So if you have a violin as a great example, when you put this on a mic stand, you're going to want to get it as absolutely close to the body of the violin where the sound comes. You really need these mics to be super close, particularly for instruments that are not that loud. A louder instrument, if somebody was playing a trumpet, gives you a lot more room. And then the last thing is these mics pick up in a cardioid pattern, which means they don't really pick up sound from the backside, but they pick up sound. It's called cardioid because it kind of looks like a heart shape, like this. And so you've got speakers on each side of the church, and they're always behind you. So it's almost like you've got monitors because you're always in front of the house speakers. And that's something to be aware of, that if you do have to have this at any distance from an instrument and you have to turn the gain, the input gain, way up in order to hear, you're going to risk feedback because they're in front of the speakers. But if you can angle them so that the butt end of the microphone is more towards the speaker, it's going to do a really good job rejecting the sound that's coming from that backside. Now, you can't always do that, obviously, but if I had a violin in front of me right now, I absolutely could have the mic angled, pointed right towards the body as close as possible. Or if it's up over the top, again, don't point it so it's pointed back towards the speaker. Always point it so it's towards the seating and away from the speaker. And that's why the piano mics are set up the way they're set up, is they're angled so that they don't have the sound from the speaker coming right to them. So those are the things to be aware of. When you get here, the first thing you should do is get the mics out to everybody, color-coded. Go back to the mixer, have them play, and while they're muted, you set the input gains to get the mics to a nice good level. And then the mics that you want to go through the house, you start bringing them up through the house. And then after you're happy with that, put on your headphones and mix the vMix output that's going to your live stream and your recording. And it'd be great if you have more than one person to kind of, have somebody that can help out. If you are by yourself, then give yourself plenty of time. And yeah, that's the color-coded mic system. When you're done, I would always make sure on the side behind the organ that if you plugged mics in directly on that side and unplugged the little colored jumper cables that bring you to this side, I would, just to make sure whoever follows you doesn't, have an issue, I would always plug those back in and kind of reset, because you don't know who's going to be in the space next and what they might need, and it could cause them some heartburn if things are all unconnected and they need to troubleshoot and figure out why they don't, have these jacks working. So there. Good luck with your future sound endeavors at Jamesville Community Church.